Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another installment of Let's Commiserate. I'm Sam.
And I'm Dave.
And I forgot to tell you this, but our previous episode was our 40th episode of Let's Commiserate.
Can we have like confetti come on the screen and like a little fanfare?
We were saving the celebration for our 41st episode.
Wait, so the last one was...
The last one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's been a while.
I had thought about mentioning it the last episode.
Are like the first 3 episodes of a new television series and then one episode that recaps the rest of the season.
No, we are not good at this. I was like, look, because we started this back in August 2023.
Wow.
And so it's still under 2 years. It's a year and a half. And so, if we were posting regularly, like on a weekly basis, that'd be 52 episodes plus, 26?
Yeah,
This should be like in the 80s, right? For our episode count, but
a little behind schedule.
But you know what? I was thinking about it for 2 people who are busy, and we don't have like a team of editors, and we don't have like our own, fancy separate studio or anything. And,
We are poor. We do it ourselves.
we do this all ourselves.
Jack of all trades.
And,
And
we've stuck with it for almost 2 years. I think that deserves a little bit of credit and a little bit of credit.
as far as I don't consider this I do consider this work. Actually, I was talking to Jesse the other day. I was like, yeah, I need to get with Sam. We had some work to do. She's like, work? Like,
it's work.
like a podcast. And I'm like, no, don't. It's yes, but mentally, if I don't prioritize it as like a job, it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
Even though we don't prioritize this episode.
Although, so that line of reasoning is still faulty.
I'm like, it's something that helps.
I'm watching Star Wars, but it's for work, okay?
Okay, when you say it like that. But last night I binged a whole lot of Andor season 1 just to catch up.
And as did I.
And I considered it work because it's like I can't like when we were reviewing stuff, I cannot passively watch it.
No, I can't either. I have to take notes because there are things that, I know I'm going to forget. So I can't passively watch it. I will watch an entire scene, pause it, take my notes, watch the next scene, pause it, take my notes. Yeah, it is. It's work,
It is.
and work that we do not get paid for.
Yeah.
It's a volunteer service, really.
It is.
We're such good people.
Well, it's a benevolent act for the masses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, how was your week?
It was good. It was busy. It was a busy week. I don't feel like I really had a weekend. It was just kind of go.
Hey, we did a cool kind of thing on the weekend.
We did actually. That was really nice. So Sam here stole me Saturday afternoon. We met up. Okay. First he was like, "All right, we gotta go film. We gotta film some skits for
TikTok.
TikTok." Yeah. I was like, "Okay."
I was trying to kill 2 birds with 1 stone here.
He was just, "All right, get ready for your bachelor party. We're gonna go work."
Yeah.
And films. I was like, "Okay, that's cool." And then we did that, and then we did a little scavenger hunt, just like 2 or 3 little questions, and ran around the property and assembled a costume, your costume. And then we dressed up in full, tuxedo. I don't even know,
Like 1920s formal wear.
formal, full vest, pants, bow tie. We both had black bow tie.
Fedoras.
The hats, the overcoats.
Yep.
There's something about, I was thinking about actually that night, like the overcoat is a underappreciated garment anymore. I don't know why, but it's just, I think in modern fashion, they're like, oh, overcoats are big and frumpy. And I'm like, number one, they have like tails. So they like flap in the wind. They look good,
I was thinking of what you were saying about wearing a Jedi cloak in the city. It's a similar feeling. Like we were walking the streets to this. It wasn't necessarily a speakeasy, but it definitely had a speakeasy vibe.
It was a very speakeasy style.
And sorry, this couch, it's so tempting to just sit like this.
It's a very
Couch. It's very deep.
yes. I'm sure the naps on this are fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually roll over and not fall.
But anyway, yeah, the overcoats were a nice touch. Yeah, and OMC in White Plains, New York
if you're in the New York area,
It was great.
I highly recommend checking it out. See that, but yeah,
It was a good time.
atmosphere is amazing. The drinks are really fun. Oh, that's the picture showing me photo. Was living my best life.
You were so happy.
I was so happy. Yeah.
The drinks were, what is it called? ONC. MC in White Plains. Sorry, I heard that in morning.
Yeah.
Really nice place. If you ever in White Plains, please stop by.
Yeah. But other than that, the weekend was. What did I do the rest of the weekend? I think Sunday kind of turned in. Oh no, we had friends over for dinner Sunday, and it was nice. It was very nice. We just kept it low key. One thing I'm excited for you to experience, as like being a married couple, it is so great hanging out with other married couples, because like you invite a couple over for dinner, which is what we did, and it's fantastic because they have no problem calling in an early night. They don't make a mess. They never come empty-handed. They are considerate. It's the absolute best thing.
Okay, because when you started, I could not tell if you were being sarcastic.
No, I'm being dead serious.
Like the best one is hanging out with other married couples.
No, it's true. Recently,
I have to admit, there is a special place for friends of mine that are like, well, it's 9 o'clock. I'm going to go home now. And you're like, oh my God, I love you.
Yeah, it was great. It was recently we had 2 couples over, kind of like a mini reunion, and it was great. Yeah, we packed a lot in because we had them come over earlier, like 4 o'clock, and we actually made a whole evening of it making tamales together. So we formed like an assembly line, and we were all helping out with it. We did margaritas, movie night. Oh, The Wild Robot. Have you seen it?
Yes. Actually, I saw that in theaters.
Incredible movie.
Yeah, fantastic.
Loved it. We watched that, and then it was like,
That was Jesse and I's first theater date.
oh.
Yeah. We just went and we're like, oh, what do you think is playing? And it's like, oh, Wild Robot. Yeah. What?
It's so wholesome. Yeah. I love the animation. It's good.
I feel like it's the most wholesome animated film that's released within the last couple of decades.
And those have been in short supply. But yes,
Feel good. It had a couple of very nice like moral lessons about family.
oh, Samantha and I teared up.
Oh,
100%.
I definitely, yeah.
Uh,
I think that was the first time Jesse saw me tear up, not cry, but tear up. Shut up.
She saw you vulnerable. Oh, but no, that was great. So yeah, we watched Wild Robot, and then I think it was like 9 or 9:30, and both of the other couples had like over an hour long drive home, and so they took off, and we had barely any cleanup. That is like,
I will do that to you. But
yeah, all right, I'll see you later. And we were like, this is great. Like Samantha and I have time to watch another movie if we want. Like it was, so nice. That was what we did Sunday. Just getting a couple of
that's the way Sundays should be. Very relaxed, very chill.
Sunday vibes.
A little bit of social, a little bit of entertainment, a lot of relaxation.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So good times.
Well, should we get into it?
This is my the final countdown.
The final countdown episode.
Picking up where we were, we're still in Andor season 1.
Yep.
Episode 6, entitled The Eye.
The Eye. Before we get into the breakdown, what were your overall thoughts?
This was the thing is Andor has so many amazing episodes throughout, but this one is a standout.
This really is.
This is a standout.
Yeah. It was it's amazing how much I had forgotten about the show watching it through the second time, because it felt like I had just seen it, but I was like, whoa, I don't remember that. But the climax of this episode, I think, is the most thrilling thing of the entire first season. I will say that. Like, I mean, there are thrilling moments in the coming story arcs, but I think this one really set the bar.
But yes, this is one of the highest rated episodes of the season, and for good reason. And not just for the graphics, but the tension. Because everyone loves a good prison break. Everyone loves a good like bank robbery,
Heist.
a heist film. There's so many good ones. Tower Heist, The Hot Rock, Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, Ocean's 13, Ocean's 14.
The Italian Job.
Both of them.
Yep.
Like everyone loves a good thriller, it's dramatic. It's, are they going to get away with it? The whole bit. And this really, this really did an amazing job, because the first half, they did a great job at kind of setting the tone of anxiety.
Yeah.
You know, and we're gonna get into it a little bit more. But we saw it in the last episode. You know, the night before Skitters. You know, people are getting cold feet. But then you see them all, and there's a couple of scenes throughout where the characters, like, you can see them kind of losing their nerve.
Yeah.
And it makes it very real. Like, not everyone is Captain America or Tony Stark that is like completely fearless. Like, oh yeah, come on, yeah, let's really not so. James Bond, oh, it's super suave. He's gonna make like any quip all in a day's work.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I'm a lot more like Nemik.
There's like real people.
There's a bit where Nemik is like, you're right, I don't feel sleepy anymore, and you're like, that would be me.
Well, so the episode begins with Nemik, and
I love this.
it's a interesting scene because Nemik kind of like unintentionally shames Cassian for not believing in the cause. He's like, I couldn't sleep last night and I had faith in the cause. That's not how it's supposed to work. I mean, you have like nothing to live for and you sleep just fine. And Cassian's like, thanks.
I just love Nemik is that kind of, we get that kind of naive energy from him. And this conversation, I think, really kind of sums it up. That's a conversation you would have with like a very intelligent, like 7-year-old. That's just that, like, I couldn't sleep last night, but I have faith in this. Why can't you?
Yeah.
Just that kind of completely honest view of the world.
Yeah.
And Cassian doesn't like roll over for Nemik. He's like, no.
He stands his
He
ground.
kind of stands his ground. He's like, look, I am, what does Nemik say? He's like, so what do you think then? Like, we should just, like bend to the will of the Empire and say thank you. And like Cassian like gets down in his face and he's like, do I look thankful?
Yeah, that was the moment ago. I was like, I do like Nemik, but it made me realize he's kind of like that annoying youngest member of the friend group who just like, has to correct your grammar or, every time you drink, every time you drink out of your, he's the actually kid. Every time you drink out of your Poland Spring, he's like, do you know how many polar bears die every time you drink out of a plastic bottle? I was like, that's kind of like Nemik.
Okay, it's sea turtles.
Oh, sorry.
Actually,
Can we get the stat?
okay, so I forget how much this show does a great job at telling parallel arcs, simultaneous events, but it jumps around. Like, we cut back from their kind of Valley 1 group to the Empire base. We see how the captain, not Terraman, I forget the guy.
J-Hold B has.
That guy.
It's a
He has J. Holden.
yeah. BB has it all.
Talking about how they've manipulated the locals so much. They've bribed them with local taverns. Basically just how much the Empire is arrogant and abusive of the local populace.
Yeah, and he's talking about how they're allowing the Donning people to see the eye, like make their journey, and talking about how they've gradually broken down the will of the people. Like usually they have thousands of people coming, but little by little they've gotten that crowd smaller and smaller. And I was reading about it. It turns out this was actually a COVID tactic. He said, I guess in the original script, they did want like 1,000 extras for this, but because COVID limited the number of people they could have, they were like, okay, we can only have like 30 people on set for this. And so they worked it into the story like, oh, they've broken down their will so much so that it's become a smaller
So this
crowd.
Hey, doing John Favreau, I'm looking at you.
Tony Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy, I'm looking.
John Favreau had nothing to do with the show. I don't know if that's from.
No, neither him nor Holy Filoni.
No, really?
Not there's like if you look at all the behind. I mean, I think they'd probably have like a say in some, of course. This is
Surprisingly good. All right,
yeah.
Tony.
Well, I have things to say about that later. Tony Gilroy. Because this episode was, I had mentioned the last arc. Like this arc is written by Tony Gilroy's brother Dan and directed by Susanna White. So it's the end of there.
Just gonna jump out here and say, good job, script writing. Because they had an issue, they had a production-based issue, and they didn't just pull something out of their hat.
Yeah.
They said, no, we're going to rewrite the script so that it makes sense.
Yeah.
Unlike any of the sequel trilogy.
Oh, okay. Well, this is we're in a safe space right now. But
on it.
And they, anyway, Commander, he's telling, they have a visiting supervisor. I know I have his name written down somewhere, but he says, whatever side you fall on in this show, everybody agrees that the eye is really something to behold. They're really hyping it up for the viewer. And I remember thinking, all right, this better be good. We'll see if it lives up to the hype later.
It has a really good job at like planting an idea and then building on it and building the hype. And you know, a lot of shows try to do that and a lot of them fail. They like overhype something, but this show does a really good job kind of pacing the impact.
Yeah.
And so they have a couple of cuts back and forth. They find out the Valley one has a sweet little field radio. Turns out the Terraman was actually a stormtrooper. Vel and Cinta break out some scuba equipment. Terraman provides some nice reminders, safety reminders about, you know, we're here for a reason, be a soldier, walk straight, back straight, you know, that whole thing.
Well, it's, they mentioned Tamarind was a former stormtrooper, and Cassian's like, oh, that's why he's such a jerk. And the stormtroopers, they slaughtered Cinta's whole family. Now, speaking of Cinta, talk about a character who is given nothing to do. And I mean nothing. You could cut out all of her scenes and dialogue. Not that she has much dialogue. The scenes that she's in, you know, she's with Vel most of the time in this episode. If you just had Vel and cut out all of Cinta's content, it would have no bearing on the rest of the episode, which is a shame.
This is true. But did you see she is actually starring as the companion of Doctor Who in the next season? Varada Sefu?
Okay, well, I'm talking about her character, Cinta. Okay.
I know. But she's a Doctor Who companion now. So I think we can forgive.
Okay, so the actor will have something to do.
Okay, you know, she'll actually have some lines in that.
Okay.
So she has something. She's a breakout actor, so it's great.
The guys there at the tail end of escorting the Donnie people and then begin to blend right in.
And I just a note here on the tension music begins. It's very dramatic, and I wasn't expecting it to be like techno synthesized.
Mm-hmm.
I was figuring they were going to do more like orchestral, like for the dramatic. And at this point, it's like kind of a synthesized, but it's just enough to kind of like get you stressed.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, the heist is beginning.
The heist has begun.
So you see a little bit more like backstory on like Captain J-Hold. He is desperately trying to get off world. His son has a bunch of like medical conditions, and his wife is just kind of, you know, lack of the better word, and annoying. What? Did I say something?
No. I have to go on a rant.
Oh, about
JL here. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
And I tried to let this go. Is that the Sonic?
Sorry. Text message.
Okay. I have to go on a bit of a rant about J-Hold here. So J-Hold's wife and his 12-year-old son are there. Now, his wife has got to be at most like 28 years old. Okay, looking at her. Like, this had to have been a teen pregnancy is what I was thinking. Now, I looked it up. Yes, I looked it up. The actress, Michelle Duncan, is currently 46, which means she was probably 41 here. And that's a 17-year age gap, okay? Because, like, let's say at a legal age in our world, they got together when she was 18. Okay, let's see.
Okay.
That would have made him 35 years old when they got together and she was 18. Gross. Okay? And now B has a 12-year-old. So he was... he had a son when he was 46. No, that's gross. And I looked at the actor, Stanley Townsend, and he is 63 years old, which means he was like 58 when this was filmed, which means he would have had to have had this son when he was 46. Not that any of this matters.
I mean, it's possible. Mathematically.
Not that any of this matters. I'm just saying casting could have been a little bit more believable. Because she is glowing. And I'm like, that woman has got to be at most
There's no way she's a mother.
28 years old. Okay.
Are we?
Well, I just picture like her son saying like, "Mom, you didn't have to deal with these problems when you were my age," and she's like, "Well, I was your age like 5 years ago, but whatever."
Practical siblings.
Well, anyway, so
We're going to be talking about marital age later on in this.
it does become problematic. Anyway, J-Hold,
We're going to talk about gross a little bit later.
J-Hold's like, "Hey, my clothes shrunk," and she's like, "Hey, you live on Imperial Donuts every day, so I."
No, I love how he's like, perhaps my garment shrunk. And she's like, perhaps you expanded.
Yeah.
I was like, so such a regal way. I meant saying, maybe you got fat.
Yeah. And Pedagar is the name of the supervisor visiting, and he's the one who could get them transferred.
I was, I was a little disappointed Pettigar didn't have more because he has like one scene where he actually like shows his medal, and that's it. He's basically just kind of a plot. I don't even know what plot device he was, other than just like just all hot tourist. He was just a hot tourist. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so
They're marching to the.
they're marching. Gorn gets his squad 3, so he has like his, because Terriman has been there walking up. He's like, all right, if we run into troopers from the garrison, that we say we're from the airbase, and if we're there, we make troopers from the airbase, we say we're from the garrison. So they're just trying to pretend to be someone they're not. So then Gorn gets there and he lines up his guys. All right, he's like, squad 3, move out. So then he collects. Gorn is able to pull out his I don't even know what we call them, Parisians. They're a little band of the Valley One group. These scouts, because they're not rebels, but they are rebels, and we're just called rebels, not yet.
Yeah.
So they sneak back up to they march back up to the garrison. They haven't heard from Vel and Cinta yet. Vel is busy placing a small jammer at the comm station. She meets up with Cinta, and there's a little bit of a go, no go moment.
Yeah, Vel is.
We doing this? Are we not doing this?
Yeah, she's stalling. Either she's scared of heights or scared of the mission itself. And there are many moments in this episode I felt like where they were really building the tension only for it to kind of be anticlimactic. They're like, ready, let's go. And then they just keep walking. I'm like, when is the actual thing happening? And then right as I was wondering that, the actual thing started to happen.
Yeah.
They get into the base, the garrison, and they turn their weapons on J-Hold and his family. And I stand corrected. Cinta does one thing of actual consequence. She kills Pettigar. And even though she still only has maybe like 3 lines of dialogue. But this is where the tension really kicks into high gear, because Vel fully commits. She, is pointing her weapons at J-Hold's wife and son, and she's like, "Hey, no, your family's gonna go if you don't give us what you want."
I love what she says here. We win or everybody dies.
Yeah, that's commitment.
Those are some stakes.
And I was noting, like, this is where the show really starts to get gray in a good way, because I'm sure that's the only reason they kind of wrote J-Hold's son into this, because it's to show like, the Empire is bad, but also these people have families and lives too. So how badly do you want to rebel? And then I was reading later, that was one of Tony Gilroy's intentions. Like, he wanted you to have sympathy for both sides of the conflict.
Yeah, because nobody's, and this is one of those kind of cinematically, we love having the good guy, the altruistic, the moral, and then conflict, with the contrasting energy of the bad guy. And, hey, the truly wicked, the immoral, down deep, and you're like, we love having this even divide. But that's the funny thing about war, is there is no
there's no
good, good guy, bad guy,
clear line in the sand.
So moving on to the jammer starts. So the con tower is like, we can't call every, Alkenzi works, but everything else is down. And they're like, oh, it just must be the eye, this meteor storm.
Yeah, like, basically, I was like,
it doesn't matter. I mean, Nemik kind of broke down earlier. It's like a mass particle groupings of like minerals in the atmosphere that burns up and blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's pretty meteorites.
Yeah.
Meteors.
Yeah. And as they, like, are advancing to the men who are guarding the vault. Like they're getting deeper to where they need to be. And it's like, oh my gosh, like this is happening. We're doing it. And they're gradually becoming more outnumbered. It's getting very stressful. This was when I really started to think, and they were really that angry about Clem joining the group. Like they were that annoyed that they were given another man to help them out. Because
How dare you give us more person?
they really thought they would have been able to pull this off with like 3 guys and be severely outnumbered. I would have been like, yeah, we'll take all that.
They were getting a little.
But they get into the vault and they blast through the security cases. And I do have to say it was a pretty satisfying moment when you see them open up. Yeah.
And the little strap like goes up the credits.
It was
They get J-Hole to unlock, like, open the gate. They blow up the straps, and the whole time he's lying. He's like, I can't do that. I can't unlock that. And they're like, yeah, we know you can't open up the thing. But we'll rule. And credits, baby. So many credits.
and they actually made every individual credit for this.
It's incredible.
Like it's incredible.
Also, Gorn is just super cool.
Yeah,
He's just playing chill the whole time. He's like, get those loaded, you know. He's playing it super cool.
J-Hold's like, he sees that Gorn was behind it all, and he's like, you'll hang for this. And Gorn's like, after 7 years of being associated with you, I deserve worse. I was like, that's a pretty good diss.
Savage diss. The comm guys realize they get the flash warnings that the vault is being opened. So the one comm guy, being an overachiever, grabs a couple of the other troopers. They run down. They're like, what's going on? And at that point, Gorn is like, get your men out of here. This is classified. And then they see the captain, J-Hold.
He's not so joyful right now.
J-Hold. And they're J-holding him hostage. And they're like, what's going on? And there's like about 2 seconds of yes, no, yes.
Yeah.
And then blaster fire starts out.
Well, then in the meantime, the eye begins, and I gotta say, it does live up to the eye. It is a sure just
Where Alhenzi, the airbase, gets notified that something's happening at the garrison.
yeah.
They load up the TIE fighters. There's a couple of wide shots of the eye with the
The eye, it is. They did such a good job.
best visual remain.
I was like, I would say the eye is kind of like the Star Wars equivalent of getting to see the Northern Lights. Yeah, I don't know if you've gotten to see them. I've only seen them once when I was like 12 years old. It's incredible in our backyard. It is gorgeous. And the coolest thing when I was watching this, actually, it was the moment where you see the lights, like the meteor show, like coming from behind the hills, and the sky's lighting up. At that moment, the sun started to shine into my living room. And I was like, I get it now.
That's really is.
I was like, wow, this must be what it's like.
Wow. It's amazing that the sun was like, time to give him surround vision.
Yeah. But when they are caught and they realize, Gorn's not who he says he is, all what breaks loose.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, how did I forget all of this from when I watched it the first time? Because this whole escape sequence is insane. I was like, this is where the tension they've been building this whole time, the risk pays off, because I was sweating. My palms were sweating. I was stressed out. I was really stressed out.
But I mean, the buildup for this has been 3 episodes.
Yep.
Watching 3 episodes, and like you see why they've spent so much time.
Yeah, I was like, you were happy that you sat through the previous episodes.
They're all under fire. You can tell they're scared. Skeen is like hiding. Terramin is like hiding behind cover. Cassian gets onto the ship.
There's so much to unpack.
There's a dude there, so then they're fighting. Nemik saves Cassian.
This was the first time
In the ship.
This was the first time that I was grateful for the Disney Plus ads, because an ad came on and I got to catch up on my notes. Because like just everything happens. Like Tamarin dies, which I was like, thanks guys, you have to kill off the black guy. I couldn't see what happened to Gorn, but apparently he also died.
Yep.
Thanks guys.
Poor Gorn.
Cinta stays behind, which I guess was the plan. J-Hold has a heart attack because he literally never lifts anything or exerts himself ever.
His belt doesn't fit.
Yeah. And Nemik is surprisingly an amazing shot because
Fantastic.
when
he saves Cassian, blasts the guy.
yeah, and Then as they're escaping, it's only Nemik, Cassian, Skeen, and Vel who escape. But the moment where the palette of credits smashes into Nemik and crushes him, oh, you feel it.
It calls me every time.
Yeah, it is gut wrenching.
It is crushing.
It crushed me. Soon.
Because they hit the mooster because they have to get the Rono up and out. And on that, they didn't secure the credits. Like, it's just loaded in it's like just sitting in the back of the pickup, you know what I mean? And then he punches it. And all that credit, it's like the one on the skid, slides back.
Yeah.
Lands in a Nemik. And you see it, you feel it, you're like, ooh, that was not.
Yeah.
And so, but the other, like, this is, again, the tension doesn't stop. So Cassian is like, I need a flight plan. And Nemik was supposed to provide him using the Star Path unit, the Star Chart unit. So Nemik is like literally in half. Val,
He can't feel his legs.
Val is like, we got to give him a med spike and stuff. And Cassian's like, I'm flying blind here. Like, we're literally in the middle of the eye.
I was like, I get it. By
Familiar sign right behind us. They eventually pull Nemik in. He punches him in numbers, and then he's given directions on how to fly out. And Cassian's like, okay, these directions are crazy. And Nemik is like,
yeah.
you know, no question. JC's like, and they, I mean, get it out by the skin of their teeth. Like a bunch of I think 2 or 3 of the TIE fighters like blow up inside of the eye.
It's wild. And then Cassian redeems himself a bit in Skeen's eyes, it seems, because he's willing to take Nemik to see a doctor, whereas Vel just wants to leave him. He's dead weight. And I was like, that's where it comes in handy to have someone like Cassian in the group, because he's not so devoted to the cause that he is blind to human decency. But then we get to the doctor and things get... The best word I could come up with was, this is where things actually got sad. I was actually sad.
I was going to say things got out of hand, which is ironic because the doctor has 4 hands.
I was like, how did they film this? Did they do it like, you know, when you stand behind your friend and you're like being there?
Yeah. So
I was a puppetry thing.
they had a little, what's it called? They had a behind the scenes bit. And then basically they have 2 guys.
Yeah.
So they have the one standing behind the other, and they're like, oh. No, if you've never seen it on what
YouTube, right? They have the...
Whose line is it anyway? Sometimes they do the arms bit, and it's hilarious.
It's always good.
So at this point, Val is like, thank you, doctor. He tries. Nemik doesn't make it. But while they're waiting, Skeen has a talk.
And it turns out Skeen is actually kind of the worst.
And Skeen is just, and you can kind of see the conversation beginning to devolve. And they're like, yeah, you know, Nemik, you know, this. And then Skeen is like, you know, want to know how much is in the Rono? 80 million credits. And you could kind of feel Cassian be like, all right, and Skeen's like, you know, we can win and walk. You said you want to win and walk away. 40 million apiece. You want to walk? And Skeen says, I'm a rebel. It's me against everybody else.
Yeah.
And I was like, Bastian is like, but don't you have a brother? What happened to the cause? What happened to
I never asked.
Skeen's like, no, it was all a lie.
Like all those high and mighty speeches that...
Skeen is like, I know exactly who you are. You and me, we were born in the hole, and we just had to climb over somebody else to get at it.
It was all an act.
And it was at that point, Cassian shot him.
Yeah. Yeah. Skeen was ready to ditch this dying kid and take the money and run. Now, yeah, that was a hasty decision on Cassian's part. Maybe not the wisest thing, because then he goes and tells Vel, and all Vel has to go off of is his word when he said, no, Skeen wanted to portray.
And Lee, I mean, she'd been living with Skeen in the woods for 6 months.
Leah.
She knew, she was like, yeah, Skeen would never do that. And Cassian's like, look, this is what I saw. I'm going to take my cut. I'm going to take my 50,000 that Luthen promised. It's fair. Leave you the ship. I'm going to leave you this stone. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
I've done my job.
Nemik left him his manifesto, still trying to convert him even beyond the grave. And yeah, I actually felt really bad for Vel here, because now she was just on her...
I mean, literally, she lost...
Every member.
The whole team.
Every member. I mean, Cinta's out there somewhere, but I was like, it's not like, you know, way Miz level of tragedy, but it's still, I mean,
Definitely agree.
it's more like, you know, the tragedy. Yeah, it's like rebellion at what cost?
Yeah. But I like how they, you know, I hate it when a show, and And most shows do this. They invest so much time into their characters that they're afraid to kill them. Or they'll introduce a character without any connect, like literally that is just there to die.
Yeah.
And you're like, this is not real life. You know, when a show gives you a little bit of character and a little bit of development and then they die anyway, and you're like, oh my, that was that's life. That happened.
I think basically the show's message is don't get attached to any of these characters.
We've all seen Rogue One. We know. Well, not everyone has seen it. Okay, well, for those that have. So now we have a cut back to the Imperial offices, to the ISB, and they owned up as going, everything is, the crap has hit the fan.
Yeah.
What's his name? He calls for a Star Sector planetary retaliation plan ready by midnight because the Empire is mad. They just got robbed 80 million befriending for instance.
And word gets back to Luthen that it was a success, and the galaxy is like just going crazy over this news as
Mon Mothma is like, has a speaking like in the Senate.
Yeah.
And whispers are starting. She whips out her iPad and it's like, oh, a big rebel attack. And if
her Apple News is going on,
and that's like, okay, that would happen if like a large, statewide robbery happened, or like a federal level, like, if they robbed Fort Knox, it would be like, oh shoot,
yep,
that would make the news. Everyone would stop and start talking about it.
And when Luthen hears about it, he is like overjoyed, not just laughing. And it was interesting because I'm like, you're happy too, but you as the viewer know that it's not all happy news, and it is where it really starts to paint a picture of all the different aspects of the rebellion. You have those who are down there doing the dirty work, facing the violence head on and the worst parts of it, and then you have those kind of in the higher ups, like Luthen's position, who they face the secretive, more tense side of it, but don't necessarily have to be confronted with those brutal realities. So it's not as black and white as old school Star Wars would have you believe. It's interesting.
Well, and I think this is where Andor really shines, is that it picks up these nuances throughout, because the most of the Star Wars series is this kind of frontline heroic action. It's going to be Anakin and Obi-Wan. It's going to be Luke Skywalker and Han Solo. It's these big good versus easy heroic types. Whereas, you think of like espionage or Cold War like spy craft. I'm like, this is a very tense, the Manchurian Candidate kind of stuff, where it's like, there's threats. And I love in the later on, I don't want to get into it later, but I'm like, the level to which these, especially Luthen, is playing people. And it's all about what he tells people and what he doesn't tell, or what he indirectly denies. Like, it's just ludicrous, the mind games that these people are playing. And I love that Andor kind of picks up on all these little nuances. None of each character, but each like archetype. You do have Val, which is like she's the front runner, the runner gunner. But then in later episodes, we see that she's also playing the spycraft.
Yes, well, we'll get into that.
We're going to talk about that anyway.
Yeah, but it's not as black and white as you would think.
So Tony, well done, Tones. This is probably one of my favorite episodes of the season.
Same. Yeah,
like it lit us with impact. And again, who doesn't love a good heist episode?
I love a good heist episode. Next week, we are going to delve into the next arc of episodes. There's one standalone episode that leads us into the next story arc, so we'll be reviewing episodes 7 through 10. We won't be able to do as detailed of a breakdown as we typically do, because now the clock is ticking, folks. Andor Season 2 comes out in 2 weeks, so we're going to wrap it up
quite just in time. Quite frankly, the Narkina arc, there's a lot of white walls, but there's still, a lot of amazing, incredible. That's why, again, one of the highest rated episodes in the season. However,
we'll get to it.
Arcs. We're learning the arcs.
Anyway, we can't wait to unpack it with you next time on Let's Commiserate.